Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Live with Virginia NORML. I'm J.M. Padini, the Development Director for the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws and the Executive Director of your state chapter, Virginia NORML. Today's Friday, June 17th, 2022, and the Virginia General Assembly is in special session to consider budget amendments again. In fact, the Senate just came back from recess while the intro to this show was playing. So that scared the heck out of me. Hey, Jimmy. Hey, Connor. All right. So there are cannabis-related budget amendments again. The General Assembly already approved a whole slew of budget amendments related to cannabis that includes new crimes and clarifying what's legal to possess at home versus in public. Additionally, Governor Youngkin sent down a budget amendment that is largely technical in nature, but is super important for consumers. This is one we can get behind wholeheartedly. It's pretty simple. Sometimes cannabis facilities need to move from where they're initially located. We've already seen this happen once in Virginia, and it's going to happen again. Now, the way it is right now, gosh, they essentially have to stop cultivating where they are and then start cultivating again at the new place. They can move their plants, which anyone out there knows is ridiculous. So it really presents an incredible opportunity to disrupt the supply chain, and that impacts consumers. Patients deserve uninterrupted access to the products they rely on. And so this technical amendment will just say that when a medical cannabis company is moving their cultivation from one facility to another facility, they can engage in cultivation at both. So that way they can wind down what they're cultivating at the original location and they can start new cultivation at the next one. It's pretty simple. And I thought it was going to be largely uninteresting until last night when everybody got worked up about it. And I got a little miffed and said, listen, I'm tired of arguing about who might possibly make money off of Virginia consumers. At some point, you really ought to be prioritizing the needs of consumers, be they patients or otherwise. And I'm happy to say that without any discussion whatsoever, the House of Delegates approved this budget amendment. It passed on a 91-4 vote in the House. Now, I don't think, we were not in the chamber for this vote. We were watching online, so we were not able to see who those 4 no votes were. Once we see who those 4 no votes were, we can probably intuit what their opposition was, whether they're just folks who hate the medical cannabis program, because those people do exist for some reason, or if they're people who are just voting no because it's an amendment from the governor. Who knows? There's a lot of political nonsense afoot. It's largely what this entire debate is about, political nonsense, except for this one amendment that's really just to make sure patients don't have their supply disrupted. So the Senate is again at ease, I can tell you. It's mostly what they've done today is be at ease or in recess. I think that this, I've heard from a lot of senators that they intend to support this budget amendment. So we'll see what happens when it comes up in the Senate. So that's what's up. Hey, Ronson, good to see you. Hello, word from the point. Connor. Great question, Connor. Virginia has legalized adult use, and we previously legalized medical cannabis. Now, our medical cannabis program is already operational. you can go to dispensaries in Virginia if you're a medical patient in Virginia. But we don't have operational adult use retail sales yet. So we have both, but we only have stores for medical at this time. Thanks for asking. All right. Hey, if you have questions about this medical cannabis budget amendment, drop those in the chat right now. Let us know what you think. Do you think it's important to make sure that patient supply is not interrupted? Probably. That's Budget Amendment 15 for anyone out there who is interested in it. And if you want to watch the Senate live stream, I mean, obviously after we're done here, then you can pop in there. Hey, Ed, great question. Ed wants to know if there's been any clarification on plant tags. Yes, but not to the question you're asking. Does the tag need to go on the plant itself, or is the pot okay? It doesn't say, it just says the plant must be tagged. Ed, I think that if your plants are tiny and you're trying your best to tag them by putting it on a stick in the pot, that's probably going to suffice. Terry, in Virginia, we call it adult use because you know what? We don't have any idea why someone's using it, but they're allowed to if they're an adult. Happy Friday, Ellie. Ronson, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Hey, Steve. Steve wants to know what changes were made to personal cultivation amounts. So none, really. All of the amounts are the same. It just moved from Section D up to Section A. All the penalties and amounts remain the same. There is clarifying language that we have put forth repeatedly during this session that finally made its way in through the budget that clarifies that cannabis that is at home is not subject to penalty. So if you possess cannabis at home for personal use, listen, if you're hoarding cannabis at home because you're selling it, that's something different. But if you have cannabis at home for personal use, it's not subject to the public possession penalties. So that language was added as well. Jimmy wants to know what are the details of the tag. Well, it's pretty straightforward. You've got to put your name, your driver's license number, or the ID number on your state issued identification, and that the plant is for personal use on the tag. Not particularly complicated. Hey, Tony. Tony wants to know if retail stores will be able to sell seeds if they get their hemp license. That's a great question, Tony. There's a lot of parts in there, and I'm going to try to pick it apart. So first and foremost, the definition of marijuana, and that's what it is in Virginia, marijuana, the definition includes seeds. So if you are trying to sell marijuana or cannabis seeds, that is not legal today in Virginia. Full stop. If you are selling hemp seeds, that's something, all hemp retail sales are regulated by VDACS, Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. And if one wants to be licensed to do so, they ought to visit the VDACS website and find their license that's appropriate for them there. Now, I also understand that the DEA has clarified that they don't consider seeds, that they do consider seeds to be hemp and not marijuana because there is no THC content inside of the seeds. That's good news, but it doesn't change, it doesn't automatically change Virginia law. So, makes it easier to change Virginia law next session. Does it make it a done deal? But it makes it easier. It makes it much easier to change the law in the 2023 session to allow the sale of cannabis seeds for personal cultivation. But we have to actually pass a bill to do that. Because, Tony, go back to that definition in code today, marijuana still includes seeds. Elizabeth, first of all, hi friend, good to see you. Elizabeth wants to know if retail sales are still on track. When is it set to start? It's not. It's not set to start because in order for sales to begin, licensing must occur. And the General Assembly has yet to pass a bill that allows licensing of stores or production or manufacturing for adult use cannabis. So we'll come back in the 2023 General Assembly and we'll have lots of little tiny bills that all try to address different sections of cannabis code, which need serious attention. But unless there's a committee in the House of Delegates that will advance such a bill, then it's DOA. And so really what needs to happen is House Republicans need to have a real serious come to Jesus on this and decide if they actually want to do something or if they want to let, just Virginia continue to flounder in this state of depenalization, which is legalization absent commodification. That's where we are today. And it'd be pretty easy for Speaker Gilbert to lay down the law and say, listen, we need to get something done. There are a number of ways forward with this, and we ought to explore every single opportunity to institute a regulated adult use marketplace for cannabis in Virginia. But that's going to take House Republican leadership to be in support of that, because otherwise there is no committee in the House that would advance such a bill. And so until that happens, Elizabeth, we can't do anything. And if you do legislative math, and I know you do, Elizabeth, then you would know that any such bill, let's say there's a bill in the 2023 session and it's going to succeed. Magic has occurred. Speaker Gilbert has decided this is what's going to happen. And there's a committee that's going to advance the bill. The earliest that bill could take effect would be July 1, because there is not going to be a super majority of yeses that are required to have an emergency clause on such a bill. So the earliest it could take effect is July 1. That means the earliest Cannabis Control Authority could really begin to do anything. I mean, would not be the day it takes effect, but let's say on July 1 they can start promulgating regulations, and maybe they've done a little homework to get things ready. Look, that really puts them at like January 1 for when they might be into the meat of licensing. None of these things happen quickly, and it's just the fact of the matter is that it takes time for legislation to take effect, and for the state agency to promulgate those regulations, and then to begin accepting applications, and then to review applications, to award applications, then for those businesses to begin opening. So it'll be impressive if we see any sales in 2024 related to new businesses. It's entirely possible that we could see adult use sales in 2024 through the existing medical operators. That's pretty much a standard practice in states that expand from medical to adult use. I'm not here for the tiers on who's making money on the backs of consumers first or next. That's literally not what we do here. But look, we got a way to go, Virginia. And listen, you all voted, you all elected these people. So if you're mad about it, I mean, it's on you. You got to vote for people who want to do the things that you want them to do. No, Elizabeth, Virginia is not interested in the extra tax revenue. It's not a priority anyhow. Hey, Robert. No, you heard me just touch on that briefly. Robert wants to know if any progress is made on allowing the medical companies to start selling to adults? And the answer is no. We'll have to have a bill for that in the 2023 session and see if we can get it through. Yes, Connor, adult use is legal in Virginia, but we do not have sales yet, which is, that's what happens when states legalize. There's always that time in between where legalization takes effect and then sales begin. Virginia was set to begin sales, essentially in 2024. We could have expedited that and possibly gotten it done in 2023. But then the November 21 election happened. Virginians elected a Republican House of Delegates and a Republican governor, and just that really threw up a wall on the progress of retail sales. Yeah. Hey, Ryan, happy Friday. All right, friends, trying to catch up on your Charlie. I love it. You're right, Charlie. Not only did you not notice any tags on that journalist's plants, you also saw that he was growing 6 plants, which at that time, and actually still today, is subject to a Class 6 felony. But I guess it's okay if you're a white guy and you publish it in the newspaper. Then who cares, right? Might be a little salty. Michael wants to know about employment protections, and there are employment protections afforded to medical cannabis patients in Virginia. They're pretty limited, but they're there. An employer may not discharge, discipline, or discriminate against an employee for their lawful use of medical cannabis pursuant to a valid written certification. You can't go to work high. There's nothing that says your employer can't fire you if you go to work high. And there's nothing to prevent. An employer can restrict the use of medical cannabis during work hours or on work property. But otherwise, there's some pretty basic employment protections for medical cannabis patients. And since we're talking about this, that won't go away when patient registration goes away on July 1, or rather when required patient registration goes away on July 1, because the employment protections, just like access to the dispensaries, that is specific to the written certification, not the card itself. So don't worry about that. You'll still be able to request a card, to register and request a card beginning July 1, just like you are now, but you won't be required to register after July 1 just to have the written certification from a registered practitioner. You can find a whole list of those on the Virginia NORML website at vanorml.org/doctors. Right, Robert? Right? If only there were a majority party that wanted to legalize cannabis and didn't slap an asinine reenactment clause on the bill and then cry sad tears and say, oh, we needed to do it for votes. No, you didn't. You did it for political expediency, and it bit you in the ass. I don't know. It's almost like there are policy experts in Virginia who tell you things and maybe give you good advice. And if you take it, then things go well. And when you don't, you piss off a lot of people. Like, we had to go down that rabbit hole together, Robert. Thanks, I appreciate it. Connor, I want to read your comment. Connor says, I've seen some evidence of the Republicans seeking to steal legalization from the left. Where? The most recent national legalization was only stopped by the right, according to them, because of equity. That's cute. I mean, no. There's always an excuse for why we couldn't pass a bill. I like legalization, but just not this version. I like legalization, but the bill's too long. Their excuses are a dime a dozen. We all know how policy works. You get the best thing you can, you pass it, and if you want to change it, you come back next year. So I'm not here for excuses on why we don't have retail sales when we've had bills to do that for 2 years now. Is it 2 years? Is it 3? How does time work? I've forgotten. 2 years now. Wow, they're going nowhere fast in the Senate. This is fascinating. Hi, MD. Good to see you. All right, I am going to pop over here and look at some of these super exciting news points that Cassidy dropped for me. Hey, guess what? Friends, there's a cannabis dispensary that's going to open up in a former Burger King near the South Park Mall. This is in Colonial Heights, by the way, Virginia. It's expected to open in either August or September, as is the dispensary that's slated to open here in Carytown in the old Need Supply store. Like G Leaf's dispensary in Short Pump, the Colonial Heights one will also have a drive-through. The one here in Short Pump is a former KFC. The one in Colonial Heights is a former Burger King. Drive-throughs make sense. Remember, these are technically pharmacies. They just only are pharmacies for medical cannabis. And we all know that pharmacies have drive-throughs and it's not a big deal, and neither is this. Even more important during a pandemic, for people who don't want to pay for childcare, so they can just go into the dispensary. For people who have health-related issues that require them to have assistance to go into the dispensary, right? Then that person has to be qualified to go in there. You can't just walk into a dispensary. You have to be a patient or a registered agent. So drive-throughs are really important, particularly for medical cannabis. Yes, MD and a Burger King. Ryan. Oh, Ryan. Oh, Ryan. Hey, John Anthony. John Anthony, I see your question up here about seeds. Seeds are not in the gray area in Virginia. The law is very clear in Virginia. It's the definition of marijuana. Marijuana, as defined in code today, includes the word seeds. Now, I understand that the DEA has since issued their opinion that they ought to be categorized as hemp, and that makes it easier for us to change the law. But what it doesn't do is change Virginia law. We still have to change the law in 2023. We'll see if that's easy to do or not. Nothing's easy with cannabis in Virginia. Oh, wow, the Senate said ease again. Wow. And admittedly, I barely know where Wythe County is, but let me look, and I can tell you what that means. No. No is the short answer on that, my friend. Sorry to disappoint. The closest to you, it looks like, would be Abingdon. And you'll kind of be, I guess, right in between Abingdon and Roanoke. And Roanoke is where GTI is looking to open another store soon. So, but you should be able to get this delivery. MD, I don't know if Columbia Care is the largest dispensary in Virginia. I have no idea which one is technically the largest. Great question. I bet one of the processors could let me know who has the biggest one. Oh, gosh, Ryan, that would be wildly entertaining, but I don't know if they're going to have a king mascot at the G Leaf opening in Colonial Heights. I'll ask. Or Ryan, how about you just come dressed as the king? I'll be there for that. Hey, Tamara, you're welcome to drop a link to the event in Hampton tomorrow. Connor, I love your comment. Connor says, I catered a party that was full of Republican state reps that were all buying stock in cannabis companies. Yeah. And that has you wondering if they're seeking to steal the platform. Nah, man, they could have done that already. They just want to wait until they have a guy in the Oval Office so they can claim the win as their own. What happened in the last 4 years? I mean, they had that opportunity. They had that opportunity here at the state level. They're not doing anything either. Yeah, no, I think it's way more simplistic than that. Unfortunately, Connor, the old people that control the committees that these bills have to go through have bad feelings about cannabis. So they're really the problem. Ryan, please do that. Please do be the cannabis king, Ryan. I have no idea, Tom, about anyone being a patron saint of cannabis. Someone feel free to go down that Google rabbit hole for Tom and drop that. What the? I don't even know what that is. I don't know, man. Yeah, out with the old people, John Anthony. You're right. You're right indeed. All right, let's take another peek here. Oh, hey, there was University of Virginia specifically University of Virginia's School of Medicine. They did a clinical trial there that looked at topical CBD treatment for people with a specific type of arthritis. And it was a clinical trial, so there's a placebo and it's controlled and all of that. And it was very effective according to this study. I think it's pretty interesting that it was done here in Virginia. And also interesting, there have been similar studies done where they looked at oral, ingested CBD preparations for arthritis-related pain, and it wasn't effective. But this topical formulation was in this study done here in Virginia. All right, scooting right along, let's talk about this. I'm going to choke on saying it because I cannot stand. Anyone who's been to this show before knows we already feel this way. So it comes as no surprise when I tell you this headline. Inaccurate strain names, poor labeling hinder marijuana industry, study shows. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, no kidding. Whew. Another fascinating piece by MJ Biz Daily. Go ahead and check that out. People want to know what's in the product that they're buying. They don't want made up names on there. They want to know percentages and milligrams. They want to know what's in there. No one needs to guess or do math when they're buying a product. Whew. Hey, Amy. Amy wants to know if you missed the discussion about recriminalizing possession of 4 ounces or more in public. We didn't really talk about it. We talked about a new amendment that came down that was related to ensuring product supply from medical cannabis patients. But Amy, to your point, that amendment was in fact approved by the Virginia General Assembly. Governor Youngkin, who loves that amendment, or at least his administration does, did nothing to change it. So that will take effect with his signature. Whenever the governor decides to sign the budget, possession 4 ounces of marijuana in public will be a misdemeanor with escalating penalties. Which means the first time it's a $500 fine. The second time it's up to 6 months in jail plus fine. So make good choices, people. Thank you, Sherry. Make good choices, people. Make good choices, friends. And listen, I know that 4 ounces, as I had in a conversation with members of the administration, yes, 4 ounces of cannabis flower would be a lot to be randomly walking down the street with. But it says marijuana. It doesn't say 4 ounces of cannabis flower. And marijuana is everything right now in Virginia. Everything except for medical products. Medical products, as they come out of the licensed medical cannabis dispensaries in Virginia, those are different. That's a different legal definition. But if you grow it at home, or you get it however you get it, or if you make something with a medical cannabis product, then it becomes marijuana. The edibles get real heavy real quick. So you could very quickly run afoul of the 4 ounce limit for public possession with edibles. Keep it at home, friends. Yeah, Connor. Yeah, I think a lot of consumers would like to see terpene breakdowns become standard. And we do require that to some extent here in Virginia, probably a little over the top here in Virginia with requiring terpene disclosure. But yeah, it's not the standard in a lot of states. Hey, Alicia, I like your question. Alicia wants to know if medical cannabis is ever going to be covered by insurance. That'd be great, wouldn't it? We could pass a state law for that. We're not going to, but we could. Really, that is something that we would expect to see happen after the end of federal prohibition. Cassidy, is the Senate really still at ease? Tell me. It looks like it's at ease, but I want to refresh that window. Look at that. Rick. Wise words from Rick. Yeah. We're going to get where we need to go. It's just going to take a lot longer now. Keep talking. You know, you're stuck with the people once you elect them. Once you've elected them, even if you didn't vote for them, you got to talk to them, just like Rick says. And Christopher, yeah, you're right, my friend. Yeah, 1 brownie, possession charge, that is entirely possible. Ryan, when the governor signs the amendment, the new law will take effect immediately. And that means that cannabis that you possess in your home for personal use will not be subject to penalty. If you're hoarding weed at home to sell, that's possession with intent to distribute. That's an entirely different section of code. If you have cannabis at home for personal use, it will not be subject to penalty once the governor signs that bill, the budget. Connor, I'm glad you point that out. Connor says in California, there are orgs that help pay for med cards. And we'd like to do that here in Virginia through Cannabis Commonwealth. We do have a 501c3 foundation called Cannabis Commonwealth here in Virginia. And if someone's into that, if someone wants to give us a bunch of cash so we can help patients get cards, we'd be down for that. But that was serious, but also I want to say this: if you are a patient struggling or a hopeful patient struggling to get your medical cannabis certification, just reach out to us here at Virginia NORML at info@virginianormal.org, and we can point you in the right direction. Yeah, Brian, I mean, it is kind of being used as a political pawn, but also they just don't care about it. They just really don't. Not on either side of the aisle. They don't care about it at all. It's not their priority. So, yeah, what Ryan said. Thanks, MD. Great segue. It is Pride Month, and like everyone, we're celebrating here at NORML. Like everyone, we have some Pride-related merchandise, except here's the thing. We keep it up year-round at NORML. Year-round. So you can check out our super awesome Coming Out Green collection in the NORML web store at store.norml.org. And some of you already know, because wow, I have a whole list of orders that I'm gonna package up after this show. We put some new merch in the Virginia NORML Facebook shop, and it is flying off the shelves. So we have this super fun rainbow lapel pin. Check that out. That's in our Facebook shop. We have a patch, new patch. We got the plain green patch. Now we have the rainbow patch. Check that out. And not necessarily related to the fabulous month of June. Oh, wait, one more Pride-related item. It's a cat, because cats. You can check all those Pride pieces out in the Virginia NORML Facebook shop. But we also have tons of new pins in the Facebook shop that, and there's so many of them. There's so many. You can get them all. You can get this little bud vase. You can get best buds in purple and pink. You can get best buds in brown and green. You can see that I need to put some moisturizer on my hands. You can get this daisy bud vase. You can get this love one, and you can get this leaf. They are all in the Virginia NORML Facebook shop. There's going to be more things too. I'm just not that fast, so stay tuned. Lots of super awesome things oh, I forgot one of them. I bet I can reach it. I mean, of course I can reach it because I have arms. We also have this brooch for people who like shiny, sparkly jewelry-like things. This is also in the Virginia NORML Facebook shop. So after the show, check it out. Yes, MD NORML has been at Pride events in the past, and I know other NORML chapters have been at Pride events that are happening in June. We historically go to VA Pride Fest, which happens in September here in Richmond. So we'll be there in September because in Virginia, we're celebrating endless summer of Pride. And I'm kind of okay with that spin. It's entertaining. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoy this. It can be yours in our Facebook shop. Yes, Christopher, I am aware of a multitude of events coming up. If you don't see our name associated with it, then we're not associated with it. But yes, we are aware. Hey, let's talk about some other things. Let's talk about our neighbors to the north. DC City Council advanced legislation that prohibits most employers from discriminating against cannabis consumers. So congratulations to members of DC City Council who recently voted 13-0 to advance the Cannabis Employment Protections Amendment Act of 2022. It has to be approved by Mayor Bowser. Then the act will undergo a congressional review, as does all legislation passed by DC City Council. The act in DC prohibits employers, with certain exceptions, from refusing to hire, terminating from employment, suspending, failing to promote, demoting, or penalizing an individual due to the individual's use of cannabis, status as a medical cannabis program patient, or having the presence of cannabinoid metabolites in their bodily fluids in an employer required or requested drug test without additional factors indicating impairment. So, similar to our medical cannabis protections here in Virginia, but not limited to medical. So speaking of medical, I know we touched on this earlier, but I want to remind everyone that required patient registration, goes up in smoke on July 1st. And so if you have already gotten your written certification and you're planning to head to your nearest dispensary on July 1, please just take a few minutes and go ahead and pre-register with that dispensary. It will save you time on July 1 because there could be long lines, particularly in areas where access to medical dispensaries is limited. Happy weekend to you as well, Ronson. Good to see you here, friend. All right, Cassidy, I did all the news. High five. Listen, friends. Thank you, Cassidy. I now have seen that there is, in fact, a private chat. The Senate appears to still be at ease. I don't, we'll post a little blurb maybe on our Facebook once all is said and done with the final vote on that medical cannabis cultivation amendment in the budget. We will include that language in the larger press release that we put out when the governor signs the budget and all of those new laws take effect. Hey, Jason. Hey. Good to know, MD. Thanks for letting us all know. All right, friends. This has been delightful as always. I can't wait to see all of your orders for this fantastic cat pin in the Virginia NORML Facebook shop. MD, wow. I love this question. What are the immediate hurdles that I see for consumers in Virginia? Access to products that are safe, regulated, convenient, and affordable seem to be the continuing hurdles. Fortunately, the medical cannabis program is going to get a lot easier to participate in on July 1. Fortunately, our medical cannabis program doesn't have age limits. It doesn't have a made-up list of special conditions that you have to have in order to participate. Some really good things that our program has that others don't. But we don't have a lot of dispensaries because the General Assembly that approved this model back in 2017 at the time was controlled by Republicans. And weirdly, Republicans were the ones who demanded a limited licensure, vertical integration required model. So if you out there, friends, are super angry about what you all call monopolies, it's really an oligopoly. But if you're super mad about these limited licensure models that we have in Virginia, you should know where to point your finger. Also, fortunately, we collectively, Virginia NORML, have ensured that the medical cannabis program is going to move over to the Cannabis Control Authority in 2023. That's good news because under the Cannabis Control Authority, then we can do additional licensing. We can't do it under Board of Pharmacy. They don't have the capacity to do it. They're still all hung up in the lawsuit. I'm looking at my lawsuit sticky note over there. the lawsuit for Health Service Area 1. It continues to drag out in appeals. So we already know that expansion under Board of Pharmacy wasn't going to happen anytime soon. Much easier to move it under Cannabis Control Authority and to get that authority, that agency staffed up to address specifically cannabis regulation in Virginia. So that should really help expand the program. Fortunately, registration's going away. It's just going to be so much easier to access the program. And I get it. You know, it's the medical program. It's not adult use sales, but it's if you like to shop at stores, because maybe you're not a gardener, or maybe you don't like sketchy backroom deals, like, you can shop at stores in Virginia. You just have to participate in the medical cannabis program. So if you have any problems, with accessing the medical cannabis program, just feel free to reach out to us. Ben is able to assist patients pretty much, during the workday. So feel free to give us a call or shoot us an email at info@virginianormal.org. I'm just going to put this here, and this is going to be me from here on out. You're welcome. Just kidding, Christopher. I'm so glad that you I'm so glad that you like that cat pin. I'm not blowing smoke about this cat pin, MD. I'm the one who picked it out. I lost my mind when I found this. I was like, Cassidy, we are buying this and we are putting this in our Facebook shop because I know what the people want. And they want this cat pin. I had to order 50 more of these yesterday, because the first 20 that I put in the store just flew out of there in one day. I didn't even get a chance to post about it. I just put them in the store and people were like, give me that. Yeah. Don't give weed to your pets. All right, friends, this has been wildly entertaining. As always, I've enjoyed spending these 48 minutes together. I invite you all to join me in spending the rest of your life watching the Senate of Virginia be at ease. Vote on the budget. And maybe they'll get to Amendment 15, the part about medical cannabis at some point. I hope they just vote on it and don't talk about it. Hey, let's do this again next week. That sounds super fun. And all of you, have a wonderful weekend. Between Christopher and MD, we're never going to end this show, because you definitely all need to know that Christopher gives their pig CBD for thunderstorms. I love it. I'm so here for this information. Let's do this all again next week. Everyone, let's see, what's that? Oh, still gonna be June next week. Hey, continue enjoying Pride Month. I hope that everyone has the opportunity to observe Juneteenth either over the weekend or on Monday, if you have that federal holiday off. And on Sunday, for those of you who celebrate Father's Day, happy that day to you. All right, friends. I'll see you all back here next week. You'll have a great weekend. Bye-bye.